Before choosing a kiting location, make an initial analysis of the weather by getting forecast information to know the direction, the force, and the nature of the wind that you are going to encounter. It is then possible to choose a suitable spot once you're at the location. The orientation and force of the wind must be checked and verified to know if conditions are suitable for kitesurfing and also for your level. You must also observe the surroundings and take in the different zones situated downwind and upwind. Then the location must be correctly analyzed for preparation of material, kitesurfing, and also for the danger zones. Before entering the water, it may be useful to recall the rules of navigation and safety. For more information, especially about the dangers and characteristics of a particular location, you are recommended to speak to a local who may give you more essential information. Weather forecasts. Before kitesurfing, it is vital to get weather forecast information that will provide you with the wind direction and force, as well as the forecast for the day and the week. You will then be able to easily choose a location and navigate. This information can be found by telephone and on the internet. Wind direction and force. Once you have arrived at your location, you must analyze the actual conditions, the force, direction, and quality of the winds. The characteristics of the wind are what you are interested in. You may then choose the size of your kite and make certain that the wind direction is suitable for navigation. To correctly gauge the direction, you may use your head. Simply turn your face into the wind. There are other methods. Use the sand, look at a flag, or look at the kites of other kitesurfers already in the water. A wind gauge may be used to measure the force of the wind, but you may also look at whitecaps on the water or look at the sand to see if it is being blown along the beach. The size of the kite used at the location may be a good indication, but the technical level skills and weight of the rider must also be taken into account. Likewise, you may simply look up at the sky to predict a sudden gust of wind. For example, a large black cloud approaching a kiting location means that you should probably put your kite down and wait. Wind speed may be expressed using different scales. In force, the Beaufort scale, in nautical knots, or in kilometers per hour. In general, we express the wind speed in nautical knots. Navigation is possible between force 3 and force 6, corresponding to a range of between 10 and 27 nautical knots. At higher wind speeds, navigation is reserved for the experts, who must be familiar with the spot. The force of the wind is a vital parameter for choosing the size of your kite. This choice will be different according to your weight and your skills. The wind may be more or less stable. In a gusty wind, control of the kite and navigation speed may become difficult and put you in danger. Winds may develop in different ways. Weather system winds come from a meeting of large high and low pressures. The wind may also be caused by a difference in temperature between the earth and water known as thermal breezes, very common in summertime. During the day, the sun's rays heat the land more rapidly than they heat the sea. The air in contact with the earth begins to heat up. This hot air becomes lighter than the surrounding air and rises. The colder air above the water rushes in to fill the place left by the rising hot air, thus creating a sea breeze that is quite regular and predictable. This phenomenon may be found in general when the weather is hot and the sky is blue. Cloud cover will reduce this thermal activity.
So Anais, we've just arrived at the kiting location, and the first thing that we'll do is to make an initial analysis of the wind direction. You can see that it's coming from the southwest over there. That means it's a side-on wind. What do you think the wind speed is?
I would say about 12 knots.
Good. The wind speed is actually about 11 or 12 knots. It's a very light wind, but it will allow us to discover kite surfing in good conditions.
Type of wind. It is important to analyze the different wind bearings relative to the shore in order to safely kite surf. This is because certain wind bearings are definitely not good for kite surfing. A wind coming from the land going out to sea is called an offshore breeze. This wind will tend to take you out to sea. If the offshore wind comes from one side, it is called a side offshore wind. A wind blowing parallel to the shore is called a side shore wind, while a wind with a side-on element is called a side-on shore wind. A wind coming from the sea onto the land is called an onshore wind. This wind will tend to bring you quickly back towards the shore. The two wind bearings, side and side-on, are the directions relative to the coast, which are the most suitable for kite surfing. Only these two wind bearings will allow you to navigate in safety. The coastline must be considered. This has an effect on wind bearings. Depending on the place you are, the wind may change from side to side onshore or side offshore. The most suitable wind bearings for navigation are side and side on, simply because they will bring you back to the shore in case of a problem. Offshore and side-off winds will tend to take you away from the beach and are usually quite irregular. It is therefore not recommended to navigate in these conditions unless you have a way to be rescued. For example, a boat that will bring you back to the beach is a good idea, a very good idea. Onshore winds may be used for navigation, but only by experts, because you must be able to distance yourself quickly from the shore in order to avoid surfing close to the beach and its associated dangers.
All this area over here is fairly clear, while to the right-hand side, there are obstacles. A tree trunk, people on the beach, there's a straw hut, and there's even a pole on the beach. So obstacles downwind must be identified. Do you know what downwind means?
We are going to demonstrate them using an animation. In this case, the wind comes from behind the kite surfer, and so the zone behind her is called the upwind zone, and the zone in front of her is known as the downwind zone. Once the balloon has been released, it will float downwind toward the kite. The notion of upwind and downwind are extremely important because they determine where a danger may come from, for example, kite surfer who has lost or is losing control of their kite, but also to correctly identify potential dangers situated downwind, such as obstacles that a rider who loses control of their kite may encounter. And so, before beginning, it is important to visualize the zone available and maximum drift downwind.
Now that you understand the idea of upwind and downwind, we're going to go to the preparation area. We're going to set up camp next to the other kites and once more ensure that there are no large obstacles or crosswinds that could create turbulence. Do you know what turbulence is?
Turbulence. The wind is coming from the left-hand side in this case, and obstacles, such as houses or trees, may create turbulence and thus disrupt the kiting spot. It is not recommended to pilot a kite in this high-risk zone, as you may be pulled off the ground or lose control of your kite. So-called rotary or roller turbulence develops downwind for a distance of about 5 times the height of the obstacle causing it. Upwind, turbulence occurs for a distance of at least the height of the obstacle. These distances will vary according to the shape of the obstacle and the force of the wind. Thus, it is important to launch and surf away from any obstacles. Spot analysis. Before entering the water, it is vitally important to analyze the preparation and launch zones, but also the navigation zone and especially the danger zones. Always consider a buffer zone between the navigation zone and the danger zone. This will help you to deal with possible technical problems or weather changes and to reach the coast in complete safety if need be. You may be able to walk along the beach to return to the navigation zone. The rules of navigation. It is important to know the rules of navigation and entering the water in order to kitesurf without creating a danger for yourself or others. These rules are described in Chapter 17. Get information from the locals. For more information about a chosen spot and to better understand its dangerous characteristics, you are recommended to consult a local who may give you much more information about the spot that they are familiar with.